Now, a survey of almost 500 Irish private sector executives shows 1 in 4 of them have applied for positions in the public sector over the past 3 years. 4 out of 5 respondents to the survey by executive search firm MERC Partners said they'd be interested in serving on a state board. Well, now we're joined in studio by MERC's managing partner in Ireland, Ruth Curran. Ruth, take us through the figures for people who are or maybe aren't that interested in moving to the public sector from private, and how come?
Well, it was very interesting, the research findings. While very positively 25% were interested and had applied, 60% hadn't. So that was quite significant. And what we found was there were a number of reasons why they felt was not in their interest to apply. Factors such as the ethos within the public sector not being appealing, a perception that perhaps public sector candidates might be favoured over private sector candidates, and pay and remuneration coupled with the size and job prospects within the public sector.
It doesn't sound like a good place to be where 60% of your respondents don't want to go to the public sector or wouldn't be interested. How could that change?
No, and it's part of the government's agenda, that part of their reform agenda, that the private sector would work within the public sector. So it's hard to know what exactly would work, because I believe the processes are very fair, but perhaps they could be tweaked a little bit. Certainly in the private sector there is a lot of emphasis initially at engaging with the candidate and getting that candidate engagement and fit very early on in the process. And perhaps some of that could be also used in the public sector processes. So from the point of view of less form filming, engaging with candidates to ascertain their interest in the public sector.
And is pay an issue? Do people expect to earn more money in the private sector than the public sector?
Well, typically people do earn more in the private sector. There's a pension differential, and if they're moving to the private sector, it's not necessarily for pay alone. It's more around giving back and being interested in almost wearing the green jersey a little bit. Yes, what pay is a factor. It's not the overriding reason why people would apply in the public sector.
How did the recession affect what kind of jobs that people at a high level were interested in and the careers that they were pursuing?
Well, we found certainly over the last 5 years there were certain sectors that performed very well and others did not. And from a candidate perspective, we found candidates were interested in looking at roles for career development. So, pay wasn't always the primary factor, very important, but not the overriding concern. So, the organisation's brand, what they stood for, where they were going in the market and so forth, being more compelling reasons. And now as we're seeing a different trend, I suppose, as we're coming out of the recession, that, remuneration is important, but again, the team and who you're working with and the size of the company and where it's going in the market also being equally important.
Okay, Ruth Curran of MERC Partners, managing partner in Ireland, thanks very much for joining us in studio this morning.
Thank you, Emma.
Now let's take a quick look at the markets. In Dublin, the ISIC is up slightly, and in London, the FTSE 100 is slightly lower. And on the currency markets, the euro is trading at $1.37 and at almost 82 pence sterling. And we'll have more in an hour. Anthony.
All right, Emma, thanks for that.